In photography, white balance is key to pushing the mood of your photo. You see, right now for this video, I have a light at 6500 Kelvin and I have one at 2700 Kelvin. If you know what Kelvin is, Kelvin has to do with a degree scale for color temperature. So warmer Kelvins, like 2700, are going to be more this orange or candle tone, versus when you get to the higher levels, like 6500, where it's more of that blue, white. You see, if we change both of these to 2700 Kelvin, we're going to be way too orange, but this gives you a sense of warm and inviting. And if we switch back to 6500, it feels very bright, very dull, very uninviting, almost like we're in a hospital. But that's why having the right color temperature matters. You see, let's look at a couple images. So instead of just yapping about it, let's look into it. So I'm working on a thumbnail, and we've got our special guest star down here. And we can see that the white balance says as shot. Now you have to be under your edit tab right here, these three little bars right here. So it says as shot. I shot this in shade on my camera. So if we go to shade, it's gonna look exactly the same. The numbers change slightly, but that's the difference between my Sony camera and Lightroom. But if we go to here to daylight, this is what it would look like with daylight. And if we go down here to tungsten, obviously this is what it would look like with tungsten. And obviously there's also a custom button, but if you go to any of these and then you just start to play with it, it's just gonna turn into a customization anyway. But you also have an auto. So this will actually auto do the white balance for you to make it as neutral as possible based on the image you have. We also have this color picker right here, and you can go right here and try to do it that way if you want and try to find it. But obviously if you click on something like this, that's gonna be very different. There's a lot more of the greens in it than anything. It's gonna start to make your image look red, right? So we can see how that is. And the cool thing with this is though, if you use it, it also previews it right up here in the top left. So look at that. You can see how it changes as I go across. But you could use that as well. Now for me, I like using custom because it allows me to decide how I wanna do it. And you can always change your white balance too after you start to edit your image, because sometimes you have a certain idea in mind. Like if I want it to be a little brighter and I want to drop the highlights and I want to up the shadows or do anything like that, and we just are doing it like this, right? We can have it. All right, well, that looks pretty decent right there, where it's a lot more neutral than the warm side. We might want to do that, but you might not figure that out until after you start to get to some of these other little editing areas. But a cool way to show this to you guys is if we go over here to our mask tab and we click on the linear gradient tab, we can take this and we can slide it all the way across. And if we go down, here is our color temperature. And you can see what it's doing to the left side of the image versus the way the right side of the image looks, right? So if I slide it all the way across, you can see how it looks versus if I slide it back. You can see how that looks. You can see the difference that the color temperature makes to the image, right? This side looks very, very winterish versus if we have it right here dead set in the middle, we have more of a winter feel on this side versus still a fall or a warmer day on this side, right? And a really good way to show you this is if we actually add another linear gradient, and we're gonna go this way now. I know this is ridiculous, but bear with me on this. So I'm gonna up it all the way. So now it's all the way that way. So if I just bring it back, right, like I said, this is absolutely insane. There was really no need for this, but you can see the point I'm trying to prove of how it affects your image. So you can see we're very, very much on that yellow side right here and very much on that blue side right here. So if we hit enter, that's the difference it's making, right? I'll just drop this right here so they're very close together and you can see the difference color temperatures making, right? Very cool on this side, very, very warm on this side. Now the lights at 5600 Kelvin, they go from 27 to 6500. We go at 27 on these and they turned orange. What happens if we go 27 on our camera? Now we're at 2500 Kelvin. You see how blue everything feels, how cold and dark and just like it's not inviting. That's why white balance matters. But the weird thing, I said my camera's at 2500 Kelvin, and you're probably wondering, well, you had the lights at 2700 Kelvin, they were orange. And yeah, that's right, because look at this light. You see this light? 2600 Kelvin. You see how I look now? Interesting. But we're gonna throw the camera back where it needs to be to discuss even further. With white balance, you're trying to balance that. you want to make it so it's pretty even, so it looks pretty straightforward to like what your eye sees, because your eyes see things a little different. Your eyes are able to adjust accordingly, so when you go from one room to another, you don't notice that difference. But when it comes to photography and our cameras, the cameras don't work like that. So when we take a photo, we have to adjust it accordingly. But that's the gist of white balance. If you've got a question, drop it down below. I'll be more than happy to answer. Or if it's for a video idea of something I could talk about with white balance, let me know, because I would be more than happy to maybe have another idea or another go at this with some other ideas. But I appreciate you hanging out with me. If you've got a second, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. God bless. I'll see you in the next one.